Hi, Tiffany. I'm Mike Manala from the Nerds of Color. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Just an honor to chat with you. As as someone who actually, you know, kind of just started recently being green with like interviewing people. We've always looked up to you and just kind of watched over your interviews. And now that, you're making this transition to the amazing big screen presence that you have now, I'm just it's an honor to really see you on the opposite side of the interview table, as one of our interviewees. How does that feel for you?
It feels really surreal. Because I think, like when you're getting into hosting, for the longest time, that was all I wanted to do. And then I still absolutely love it. Like I do Hall H panels. I love interviewing people still, but there was another part of me that was like, I also want to be on that side. Um,
Yeah.
but I know how hard it is that like to kind of change people's perspectives and have them see you in a different light. So that part has been really interesting. Like I kind of held back on auditioning and things until I felt really ready. And the nice part about it now is that like you're saying, like when I get to walk on carpets and it's my friends that are doing interviews on projects that I'm a part of, or getting to do interviews on projects with actors that I've worked with as an actor. So it feels really surreal. I feel really, really lucky because I know how difficult it can be to kind of have that balance. And like I said, I love doing both. So I hope that I get to keep doing both for a really long time.
I think it would be awesome actually seeing I mean I love your hosting and everything like that, but after seeing In Flight, you are ready. You are ready to no pun intended, you are ready to take off and be on the opposite side of that Hall H stage, not at the moderator podium, but literally as a panelist because you are fantastic. You are a fantastic actress. And I think, when folks see your work as a host, that the acting isn't the first thing that they think of because you're such a good interviewer, but when they actually see you in action in Flight and in Guardians and all these other great projects, they actually see that there's a terrific actress there. So I have to give you credit for that. And I'm grateful for the performance that you put in here. Talking about In Flight, I mean, like, what was it like getting involved in this script, getting involved with Bo, reading everything, and kind of just the origins of how you got involved, and really from the ground up.
Well, first, let me say thank you so much for saying that. I'm so glad that you liked the movie and my performance because it's one of those things like I still have people who'll be like, wait, you want to be like a real actress? So I'm like, yeah. So hearing that it was that you enjoyed it makes me feel really good. So thank you for that. And so okay, how did I get involved with In Flight? I did a short film with Bo Youngblood, who she directed it, and Kelsey and Krista were actually all in the short film. Um,
No.
Kelsey wrote it. Kelsey plays the best friend in Flight as well. So Bo was kind of the entry point for In Flight because she was directing. This is her first feature directorial debut, and she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I kind of want to talk to you about a project that I'm doing." She didn't tell me what role it was for or anything. So I went and had coffee with her, and she was like, "I was like, so what role do you want me to play?" And she was like, "Claire," and I was like, "What? Okay." Because it's just such a fun character. Like it's such a cool premise. I'd never gotten to play a character quite like Claire before, and to get to do like a thriller with Christo and Kelsey and Bo, people that I all already knew and had a good rapport with, was just super exciting to me.
It's a really tough role to play, because with a character like Claire and a premise like In Flight, it's very easy for any actor to go broad and to go hysterical, to be that what's going on kind of person. But you do it very subtly, and I love that about it. And it actually makes Claire feel like a real person. So how do you find that balance between, a script that could potentially go off the rails in the hands of a less skilled actor. And then the performance that you end up ultimately delivering in this, which is actually incredibly real, for lack of a better term.
Um, so I think it kind of one, it started with conversations with Bo.
Mhm.
I felt really lucky. The writers on this one, John and Drew, were super open to like any questions or things that I had along the way. And you don't always get to do this, but we had some time before we started shooting. So I got to read the script again, kind of dig into it and have any questions that I had about Claire answered, where it was like there were certain things where I was like, I feel like she might do this or she might say this or she might react this way. And they were so open to just collaborating and kind of helping me to flesh her out even more for myself. And I think with this character in particular, it's like knowing who she is and that she is a very logical person, that she is very aware. For me, it was something where it's like, okay, she wouldn't freak out. She would try and figure stuff out. And then when it gets to a certain point, she's like, what is going on? So it was almost like a slow build. And so from an acting standpoint, it was kind of just making her understanding who Claire was. And then having Bo kind of guide me along the way too, because you can't see yourself what you're doing as an actor. You can feel it, but they're the ones who are seeing it. And so making sure that she was seeing what she wanted to see was a big piece of that because I knew I could trust her.
Absolutely. And I think that that was really important for this movie, especially once you get, I'm not going to spoil anything because there are a lot of twists in this movie.
There are.
And a huge one towards the end makes you realize that you've been following a really competent, really fantastic individual here, and you recognize the talent and it's all present in that calming performance that you have. And that's the one thing that I noticed because once things come together, you're like, this is a character that has a very level head. And you need that because the twist lends itself to who this character really is and can be. Again, it's so hard to talk about it without spoiling anything, but I really love that subtlety because of that. So I love that you were kind of keeping that in mind from the very
Yeah.
beginning to the end of your
I mean,
performance.
it definitely was something when you get to the reveal at the end. I was like, there were certain things that you have to see in her for that to be
Yeah.
believable. Because if
Yes.
she's flailing and frantic and all of those things, the end doesn't work.
Absolutely. She has to be a protagonist that you root for because, I mean, most action thrillers do have to have protagonists that you root for, but in this one in particular, when potential is revealed at the end, you don't realize that it's being set up the entire time. And I think that your performance really lends itself to that. So love that. What were some of the biggest challenges that you experienced while you were filming this, while you were on set, while you were getting into character?
I think one of the biggest ones was just remembering that me as Tiffany knew certain things that Claire didn't know,
Mhm,
and also remembering that the audience would know certain things at different points than Claire would know.
mhm.
So there were sometimes conversations where it was like, wait, we need to make sure that the audience gets this because she doesn't know this yet. So keeping track of those things was really, that was an interesting, fun challenge. Um, and just making sure that like I didn't get lost in the like, oh, Tiffany knows this. Claire would not know this. So I need to make sure that that comes across. Um, and then I think it was a plus and a difficulty in a lot of ways getting to actually film on a plane set. It's an actual plane at a stage at Aero Mockups, and it's one of those things, you hear this from actors all the time where it's like auditioning is a different skill than acting because when you're on set you have so many things to like bounce off of where it's just like you're actually in an aisle on an airplane. So I don't have to imagine that. Like imagine feeling trapped in that space. So that was a huge win for us. But at the same time, it was the aisles are the aisles. And so you've
Yeah.
got cameraman there and it's like, hold on, let me try and move this chair and like get the camera here. And then I have to climb over them to get out because it is a really contained space. Um, so that was a little bit of the difficulty of it, but I think because of the fact that we had such a great cast and crew, like it really wasn't a difficulty. It was just like a funny, weird part of this film in particular.
Absolutely. I get claustrophobic on planes. So for you guys to shoot on a set that very, very, very much realistically captures what it's like to be in that kind of claustrophobic situation, and not just for like, 2 hours to 10 hours, but like for weeks, oof, I can't imagine doing that. So that does sound like a challenge. There's really not a whole lot out there in the action thriller landscape as far as female led and female directed projects go. So this is one of the things I spoke about with Bo and Maria yesterday. Honestly, I wanted to get your thoughts on it too as the lead. Where do you want I mean, what lessons do you want Hollywood to take away from In Flight as far as female-driven action vehicles with amazing directors who are female-led female directors at the helm?
I mean, I think that it's one of those things where it really is, you need to look at the work that people have done in the past and take a chance.
Mhm.
Because I think that so many times people want to cast someone or bring a director in who's done 75 different things. And it's like you don't necessarily get the same magic when it's someone that you've seen in every television show or some director that you've seen do the same thing 100 times. And obviously, like, I'm always going to go see the next Mission Impossible because I love those movies and I love seeing Tom Cruise do his thing. But it's like, I think there is something special and magic when people are getting to see me in this role and it's something that people haven't seen me do before, and Bo is stepping into this role for the first time for a feature. She's obviously done the work that she's capable of doing a feature, but she hasn't done it yet. So I think like a big learning lesson for myself over the last couple of years has really been that, people say it all the time, don't wait for Hollywood, do the thing yourself.
Hmm.
That really was what happened with Inflate. I mean, Bo made this movie happen and she knew who she wanted as the cast for all the roles. Which I think that added to it is that when Bo came to me, it wasn't a question. It wasn't like, hey, we're thinking, and who knows, maybe there was two other people she talked to before me. I don't know. But when she came to me, she was like, no, I want, you're Claire. Like, that's who I had in my head. Um, so I hope that, like I said, Hollywood will take some more chances, and also just there are female directors and female actresses that are badasses that can carry these kinds of films. And it doesn't just have to be, damsel in distress all the time, because even though Claire does go through stuff, she's not weak. She has her own agency, and when she gets pushed up against the wall, she fights back. That's for sure.
That's the best thing about the character, and it's persistent from the very beginning to the very end of this movie, honestly. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, like, I could see, when it comes to action movies, like let's say John Wick, Mission Impossible, the reason that we invest in the action is because we care about the characters and the drama surrounding them. And Bo captures that beautifully in Flight, especially with performers like you. My last question for you, because I know that we're running out of time. But I think everyone's going to take a look at your performance here and be like, this is for Tiffany now. Given how much attention you're going to get from this role and from this performance, where do you want to see your career escalate to next from a performance level, from an acting level? Like, what's your dream project?
I mean, I've said this a million times, and I will never stop saying it. My dream role is playing Zatanna,
Yeah,
PC character.
yes.
Um, so that is always out there for me. I love doing sci-fi and genre, and so I just want to keep doing more of that. I think, like I said before, the like not waiting around for Hollywood. I'm producing a film, co-created the idea with Mark Bernardin and a bunch of friends, and we did a Kickstarter, and we're going to be filming, I think, December, January.
Nice.
And for that one, it's a anthology of shorts that has an overarching idea that connects it all together, and I'm the character that goes through all of them. But like, I'm gonna get to work with Rosario Dawson and Phil Lamar and Ernie Hudson and Raul Coley and Caitlin Bissett and Raymond Lee and all of these incredible actors that I'm so excited to get to work with. So I think I try not to think about like how I'm gonna get to the end thing, just take the little steps along the way. But I mean, goal for me would be to have a career that's like Jessica Chastain or Margot Robbie, where they're leading big projects, but they're also producing things and, making the fun projects, but also making the meaningful projects as well. Not that the fun projects aren't meaningful, but more like historical or heavier kind of stuff. So that's the goal for me.
See, this is why I love seeing people like you succeed because you're a nerd like us. You love the coolest projects like us. You as Zatanna is a match made in heaven. I love the idea of it. You look like it. And hey, Mr. Gunn, he knows your talent. So maybe if he's watching this, James, make it happen. Make Justice League Dark happen and have Tiffany be the anchor of that entire team as Zatanna. That would be amazing.
Yeah. That one, or I'm always like Star Trek, Deanna Troy. We haven't seen any of her relatives. I feel like I could play a relative of Deanna Troy pretty well.
That would be amazing. I would love to see you in the suit, just Star Trek NG uniform. That'd be so great.
Yeah, same.
Tiffany, thank you so, so much. You are incredible. You are an inspiration to all of us. And honestly speaking, I can't wait for people to see your amazing performance in flight. But yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like literally just beaming. It makes me feel so happy and so excited for people to see it. And just like I just feel gushy that you're saying all that stuff. So I'm gonna stop now.
Oh, you deserve it. You deserve it. Bask in the limelight because you deserve it, really, from both the talent perspective and the kind human being that you are. So, thank you so much. Hi, Bo. Hey, Maria. How are you guys? I'm Mike from the
Hey,
Nerds of
Mike.
Color.
Hi, Mike.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you guys too. Thank you so much for your time. This is awesome. Honestly, this is just a very twisty and paranoid thriller, and I kind of, I love that vibe. What for Bo, really, can you talk about the challenges of really just kind of navigating through different twists and building on the story from scene to scene, especially with phenomenal performances from like Tiffany and Maria and the whole crew.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for all your kind words. It's so lovely. It was really, I think for me, when we were in the plane set, what was so important for me is that we shot in order, because that way we could internally we could all build on the tension as we sort of went day by day, and people would remember where they moved, where, emotionally where they were at to build. So that was sort of my plan on how to get every character and every actor sort of in the space that they needed to be. But it was really just reminding everyone without any spoilers, giving little tiny hints of what was coming next, and sort of to not forget certain things. And I'm blown away by Tiffany, and she was off book for 93 pages and came every day with a smile on her face and just killed it. But it's really an ensemble cast, and we couldn't have done it without everyone.
Absolutely. And speaking of ensemble, I mean, Maria, it's lovely to see you in a movie like this because we're so used to seeing you do comedy, especially after jury duty and everything. You're so memorable as Inez in that role. And it's hilarious to see in those kinds of performances, but then to do something completely different from that with In Flight, was that really kind of a challenge for you? Was that interesting? And what was that like, kind of just branching out into something that was completely a 180 from your typical from it's not a comedy, of course, but from what folks typically know and see you as an actress under.
Yeah, it was. I don't feel it was, well, no, I will say this. As Maria, it was a little bit challenging because there were things where I did want to do like a little jokey joke, but no. but um but it was so exciting how this landed on my lap because I just came off jury duty, and I also was on the fourth season of Tacoma FD, so that's also like a big
Huh?
comedy, so it's comedy, comedy, comedy. And to be able to bring it down, especially on film, the challenge was just to try not to make, not to be, to improv and start going in my own tangent of things, not to throw people off or anything. But it was so exciting too on so many levels to be able to do something like this. I mean, just the script itself was so good. And then to see that it was going to be my little friend Bobo direct it. So it was like, I mean, how can I not say yes to this? It was so much fun. And and Bo brought up something really actually I forgot about it, to be quite honest. She brought up something really interesting and important in that, most films, they don't do it in consecutive order for various reasons, right? So it was so helpful for each of our characters, for the arcs and all that. But it really helped me, and I'm sure I can speak for everybody else on the film, just to be able to move along and navigate the entire movie, without having to go back, like, oh wait, I'm here. So emotionally, just to be able to progress and progress and progress, which was such a nice little gift that we got. So
It was actually a really fantastic, when you think about it, that's a perfect and brilliant way to film a movie like this, Bo. I mean, you're kind of building and building as the story is building and building. So as the performances and the direction kind of goes into it behind the scenes, you're feeling the narrative build as well. So I thought that is actually really brilliant. Um, yeah, can you talk a little bit about your relationship, I guess, working on this as an actor and a director? And you mentioned Tiffany went, off book for like 90 pages. Like, did you do the same thing, Maria? And what's that collaboration like between kind of give and take when it comes to improv versus scripted for
I
both of you
thought
guys? Yeah.
I thought I had a really great memory until I worked on soap operas, and I was like, oh my God, my memory is F. Oh no, no. But no, but it was really nice to be able to do that as well. Um, just for memorization too. Because I keep forgetting about Tiffany that she had to memorize all those lines. I'm like, oh my gosh. That was intense, right? That's intense for her. But just as an actor overall, and everyone has a different process of, memorizing. Everybody does. So was it a challenge? No. But as far as like being, and Bo is so lovely and I know her. So it
Mhm.
was, trying not to improvise and trying not to go off script, because there are other actors in the movie. So.
But I do have to interrupt and say that the wonderful thing about Maria is that and she and I know each other so well that we had the conversation before of like, I just need to get what's on the script so I know that I have it, and then we'll play. As much, we didn't really have that much time, and then every time she would play, I was like, oh, that's so much better than everything that's written. Like, yes, like, hey, let's lean into that. Or like the next take would be like, okay, let's take like 50% of the improv and then 50% of sort of where we started from, and let's marry that. And then like that's what I want moving forward. And it's such a gift to have someone who's just so like fast and can bring stuff to it where you didn't even think, and you're like, please, like that's the exact shade for this character that I need her to have. So it was great.
Oh, and not and just to toot your little horn right back with is that she also Bo comes from improv background as well, and the lovely thing is, and again I forget about these things, and I remember now I'm like, oh yeah, we did have these conversations, but to be able to speak the same language also, that's a gift in it itself, so therefore I felt more comfortable as an actor and to bring stuff because sometimes you don't know necessarily all the directors you're working with, and sometimes they're not open to it or the writers are not open to it, and they're like, no, stick to the script. So it's lovely to be able to have that freedom. So yeah.
Thank you.
That does help a lot, I think, from a director standpoint with your actors. Just the fact that you have that improv background, Bo, kind of knowing what works, what doesn't work, when you can kind of input something that's a little off script. I think it really helped a lot in this film too, because you get real reactions and real, like everything does feel legitimate. The lines that Tiffany says, the lines that Maria says, they feel like real people. And I think it comes from the fact that you're letting them be real people on the set too. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're all there to do, is to like listen and react and be real people in these weird moments and everyone just made my job very easy. So it was a fun day.
That's wonderful. Can I ask about really the origins of this? When did you guys get the story and the script? How did you guys start building it up? Maria, when did you get involved and what was the selling point for you? I mean, like I'd love to hear about it, all of it, and how it kind of came up from the ground up.
Yeah. So Drew McInerney and John Iarati were our writers, and Drew manages Aero Mockups, which is where we shot it. And he called us up once and it was like, I probably shouldn't say this, but Richard knows. He was like, my boss is gonna be out of town for a couple of days. Like, is there something we can shoot here? And I was like, well, not like next week, but but like maybe let's think about utilizing the space that we have. And John had had this idea for a plane movie for a really long time. So it's sort of like working backwards where we had location, we knew that we could get it. And how do you build a really fun story from that sort of backwards? And so that's sort of the genesis of it, which was really fun. They wrote it really quickly. We John knew that he wanted it to be female led, which of course I loved. And this is sort of like an homage to those late 90s like action thriller movies, that were so fun. And we just never saw a female in those roles. And I thought it was such a great turn. And I think the reveal at the end is a really fun, different way, to sort of end a movie and give it a really nice cliffhanger. And then Marie was the last role that we cast. I had wanted her from the get, and she had just, jury duty was like the biggest thing. And I was like, there's no way that I can call her and ask her to do this. And our friend Brendan Morales, who's in the movie, he and I were on the phone. And I just can't stop thinking about Maria in this role. But like, there's no way. And he was like, girl, give me a second. And literally in 2 minutes, he was like, she's in. He should just call her. And I was like, really? And, to Maria's credit, like, didn't like just pitched her the idea, pitched her the character, and she just said yes so graciously and jumped in and was ready to play.
That's wonderful. Honestly, I love that you were ready to play Maria. You came in just completely, your performance here, very different, of course, like I said, from the comedy stuff that you've done, but also felt very real, and I kind of like that as well. But one of the things that I think was very interesting, Bo, was you managed to take one of the most likable people on the planet, Cristo Fernandez, and at times kind of make him creepy, I was like, how did you do that? Like,
I mean, I guess that's the whole theme of it, right? Like all these wonderful like comedians and like people who are just like so genuine and lovely people. And I'm like, I love this, but let's just like make you really dark and weird for like for a while. Um, so Krista and I have known each other for a while, and we've worked together before on a short that he produced. And he really wanted, in that process, he told me he really wanted to sort of go opposite of Danny, of his
mhm.
character on Ted Lasso. And we were really exploring sort of that with him in the short. And then as we were writing this, I was like, I feel like Krista would love this. I feel like it's just like the perfect role for him. And
Yeah.
it's like, he's super charming and lovely like he is, like anyone who meets him knows like when you first meet him, that's exactly who he is. And you just like fall in love with him. And then he becomes this sort of different character, and I don't want to give away too much, but he has a different side to him, but he's still like sexy and like has like swag to him. So it's sort of like he sort of has all of the things that his person has. We're just showing a different shade of it, which was great. And he loved it. He would do anything, and I'd be like darker, like, and he really went for it. So
You made him really come off as ominous at certain scenes, which I was just like, oh man, I'm so not used to Danny Rojas being like this. But he never loses that charm, which I kind of love. And I'm grateful, without spoiling anything, I'm grateful for the ending as someone that really does enjoy Cristo and in general, as a performer and as Danny Rojas. But yeah, I did want to touch on something for both of you guys, that you sort of alluded to as well, Bo. The thriller action space, it's not traditionally, I mean, studios have not traditionally given female directors or female performers a whole lot of chances to lead and helm a lot of these movies. And I love that you guys are getting this opportunity. I love that the the studios, Showdown and Expectro, are basically allowing, take a chance and let you guys who came from comedy backgrounds really kind of play in this sandbox. What do you hope to see, like with In Flight, what do you hope to see will potentially resonate with the rest of the industry, seeing a female-driven, both from an actorial standpoint and directorial standpoint, action thriller, hitting the, huge, streaming platforms like Apple and everything like that? What do you hope that potentially changes for the industry going forward?
Um, well, I hope that it allows studios to see that taking a chance on a first-time female director is worth it. I've produced many feature films and I've been in the business forever, and I was constantly told by studios, "We love you, but we're just never going to give you money for your first film," which never made sense to me. So when this came along, we said, screw it, I'll raise the money myself and I'll do it myself, and that I think that's sort of um what women have had to do, and people of color in this business have had to do, is really make their own opportunities, and when everyone tells them no, is to create the yes. And so I hope it encourages people to allow and give financing to female filmmakers and female-led stories, and I think that, like, proof is in the pudding. There's nothing A female can lead an action thriller, just as well as a man can. And I think really giving space for those characters, and um and seeing that it's going to drive sales and that people are watching no matter what, and people are enjoying it and people are talking about it, and it's a really fun conversation and people are really liking the movie, and it's because of all the females that we have. It's not in spite of them all. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm lucky to have all my friends, and like Maria, like Christo, Tiffany, like everyone, even Brandon. It's like I'm so fortunate to have people who are representative of different, you know, cultures and backgrounds, and be able to play in this way and really not listen to the foreign sales and the sales of it all, and really just say, I'm going to do it my way, because I believe in it and I'm going to back it with my own money, and it will pay off.
Absolutely. Very well said. Maria, would you like to
Very
add to
well
that?
said. Woo!
Maria, would you like to add to that?
No, it's so, even just to hear Bo speak about this, it's extremely inspiring, right?
Mhm.
And it's true.
Yeah.
And to be able to, she was our fearless leader who held ground, who never lost her cool. I was like, oh my gosh, I could never be this calm. I'd be dying right now. Oh my God, I need help. Where are my 12 assistants? But she literally every day just held it together and was so amazing and was so lovely and was such a badass. I mean, it was like I was looking at her as a director, but also as my friend. And also, it was so beautiful to watch her in action. And yes, this is a female-led thriller. And with our director, I mean, how many I has that ever been done, actually?
Not off the top of my head. I can't think of one, which I gotta commend you guys for
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And to be able, I mean, and also to be able to say, you know what? F it. I'll get my own money. Thanks. What? But that's how stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
That's how you create your own things. You create your own niche. I mean, it's very inspiring. Very inspiring.
It truly is. I really just want to say congratulations so much for this movie and for this wonderful opportunity. I think thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I do think that this is a triumph both from a female-driven action movie perspective, but also from an indie cinema perspective too. Because a movie like this, you can't see this getting made under Disney or Warner Brothers or anything like that. And giving you guys the ability to make this and make it your way, I just have to say it's triumph for that. So thank you guys for everything, and thank you for a wonderful time in this wonderful interview.
Thanks.
No problem.
The activists, directors, comments and the lectures, fanboys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock Life. Comics, movies,